The movie opens with a man named Poe, who is a reckless young man who spends most of his time in nightclubs. Until one day someone bullied him and beat him. Then one of his father's men, Kai, intervened and stopped the others from hitting him. Then Kai asked him to leave the nightclub, but before they left Kai decided to beat up those people. They unloaded their guns on him, until the nightclub owner pulled out his gun and told them to leave. Kai talks to Poe and tells him that they are at war, and should not go out alone or fight with anyone. But Poe was stubborn and got into his car and left. The next day Poe's body was found murdered in a gruesome manner. The news reached his father, Shung, who thought his son had been killed by his business rival. Namely a bald, black man named Isaac. But on the other hand, Isaac received a call from his subordinates who told him that Putra Shung had died tragically. He then asked Mac, who was his confidant, to arrange a meeting with Shung and find out who killed Poe. In prison we see a man named Han, who receives news of his brother's death in America. He gets angry and fights with the guards. He was then thrown into a room to be tortured. But he was an aggressive person, because he managed to hit the guard and take the key. Han easily just walked out after he put on the guard uniform he stole. Isaac then goes to comfort Shung, and tells him that none of his men would think of killing his son. And he told him that he would seek out the murderer of his son and take him himself. In fact, he was afraid that Shung would increasingly think that Isaac's men were the ones who killed his son. So he asked his assistant, Mac, to protect his son and daughter 24 hours a day. And this is his daughter named Trish. Maurice then comes and tells him that he was assigned to protect him on the orders of Isaac, Trish's father. But Trish was annoyed by that and was forced to go with him to buy something. On the other hand, Han has arrived in America to hunt down the perpetrator behind his younger brother's death. He was seen approaching a taxi, but the driver was not working. With that, Han immediately took action by stealing a taxi and running away from there. Then Trish, who didn't like anyone's company, quietly left the place alone. Trish is seen entering a taxi which turns out to be a Han who happens to be parked there. Trish intended to leave the place by taxi, but Han said that he was on holiday from work. Trish then forced the driver to take her and gave her some money, then she hurried away from the place. In the taxi, Trish was suspicious of Han because the photo of the taxi owner's documents did not match her face. Because of this, Trish knew that Han had stolen the car. But Trish is sure that Han himself is not a bad person. Han is seen driving casually and Trish safely reaches her destination. Then Han continued his journey, where he headed to the place where his younger brother used to live. It looks like he is trying to dial the telephone number last contacted by Poe. With this telephone number, he knew that the number came from a telephone number from a shop called Servine Time Fire. Then he went to the place and unexpectedly Trish was also there. And it turns out that the shop is Trish's own. When Trish was about to go home, Han followed her from behind the car. Arriving at the house, Trish went inside, and suddenly Han also entered the house which made Trish very surprised. Then Han told the truth about what he had experienced. He said that his younger brother named Poe had been killed by someone unknown. And the last number that Poe called was his shop's telephone number. At that time, several of Isaac's men also came there, and Trish told him to hurry and leave the place. Han was intercepted by those who automatically brought out a little of his kung fu martial arts. But in the end Han manages to defeat them easily and then steals their car and drives away. Then he went to his brother's funeral and he put the basketball they played with next to him. Then he met his father. And here we learn that Han was imprisoned because his brother and father fled to America. And he told him that there was a promise between them to protect his brother. So he decided to avenge his own brother's death. His father tried to stop him, but he went and met Kai to ask about the person who killed his brother. But she tells him that they don't know who killed him. Then she told him that the day before he was killed, he had been fighting in a nightclub with people and they might have killed him. After that he meets Trish and asks her to ask her brother. But Mac notices her and asks Trish about Han. Then Han tells Mac that he is his friend. Mac asks him to play with them. Han is forced to comply, then meets Trish and reminds her that whatever Trish asks him to do. On the other hand, Trish's elder brother was with his girlfriend at home, but suddenly there was a knock on the door. Unknown people killed them and threw them out the window. And no one knows who did it. Trish gets angry at her father when he tells him that he is the reason for her brother's death. Mac tells Isaac not to do anything until they complete the deal. And they will kill the man who killed his son in time. When Han returned he found his house destroyed. Then he saw a photo of his brother showing his car. So he looked for the car keys and found them. When he got into the car, he found a stick with a paper containing a set of addresses in it. But suddenly Trish came to him crying and asked him what happened. Trish tells him that her brother was killed too, and she wants to work with him so they find out who the killer is. Going to the first address on the note, they then discovered that it was a car garage and that all of the employees had been killed. Then he found someone whose cigarette was still lit. So he ran outside to look for two people on a motorbike who were running away. When Han wanted to open the assassin's helmet, he realized that the person was of Chinese descent like himself. And the fighting action took place there. In this fight, Han and Trish managed to kill him. Shortly after this incident, Han went to see his father. He suspected that the murderer had been ordered by his father. However, Shung avoided it and instead accused Isaac of being the real perpetrator. A few days later Shung and Kai were partying at a restaurant, at which time he approached several people behind him who were ready to be executed. This is where we learn that Shung has killed all his colleagues, even fellow Chinese, with the intention of launching the business he runs. On the other hand, at Trish's house, Han is seen coming to her, and at the same time inviting her to go to the last address on the paper. It turned out that the address was directed to the casino that Poe had visited some time ago. There he met the owner of the casino. And suddenly Mac came and immediately killed the casino owner. He also took Trish hostage and kept Han there. It turns out that all this time Mac has betrayed Isaac as his own boss, with the intention of wanting to control the business that Isaac owns. When Han was held captive by his men, he did not remain silent. Then he immediately beat them. When Han managed to defeat them, he rushed to save Trish who had been taken by Mac. In a different place, Isaac is carrying out business transactions accompanied by Mac himself. But Isaac cancelled the business with the intention of wanting to live in peace with his family. With this cancellation, there will be no more killing each other. Mac immediately became angry and asked Isaac to continue the business, with a threat that Trish would be killed by him on the spot. There, Mac said that he was the one who had been killing Trish's older brother so that the business could run smoothly. Hearing this, Isaac was very angry and wanted to kill him. But with the gun held by Mac, Isaac was knocked out by a shot fired by Mac himself. In this incident, Isaac's business partner ran away and took a suitcase containing a very important business agreement. At that moment Han was there to kill Mac. After this incident, Han rushed to meet Kai at his house. He also finds out that Kai and his father conspired to kill Po, on the grounds that Po was an obstacle to their business. And Han and Kai's fight broke out right then and there. At the end of the fight, Han delivered a fatal kick at Kai, which shattered his entire spine and killed him instantly. Then Han went straight to his father and said, "How dare a father kill his own child?" At that time, Shung told Han to kill him, but Han was unwilling to do so. Because later the police will arrest him, maybe people of Chinese descent will teach him a lesson. At that moment Han left his father's room, where at that time his father committed suicide with his gun. Because he realized that he had embarrassed his Chinese descendants as well as his own family. Outside the room, Han met Trish, where the problems they had been having all this time ended right then and there. And the movie is over. Thank you for watching. Look forward to the next video.